Mr. Hayes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to also welcome President Dijsselbloem to our committee, which is a new committee for me, but we've worked closely in the last number of years. He is a very effective President of the Eurogroup, and I wish him well for as long as he has that role and well into the future, I hope. Can I say to the President, he rightly said at the end of his contribution the extraordinary sacrifices that have been made in many countries, my own Portugal, Cyprus, Greece. And now that countries like Ireland and Portugal have got back to the international money markets, it's important that they stay with the international money markets. One of the proposals that has recently come forward is a suggestion that in relation to the IMF portion of the Troika funds, that Ireland, or indeed other countries, this has happened in Latvia and Hungary in the past, would be able to pay back early the outstanding debt to the IMF. But of course there is conditionality in this because it requires the agreement of the Eurozone. While I know that this issue has had not been formally discussed, could I ask you your general position on this view? Would it not make sense that countries who have been in programmes, who want to pay back money early and avail of a lower interest rate, should be entitled to do this? And could he also set out how might the Eurogroup deal with this request when it is formally made? Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Tang.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to the President of the Eurogroup. First time since the elections, you said. The elections in Holland were exactly about, of course, the fiscal rules. Our party, where you are a member from and I'm a member from, proposed not only to have a rule, a norm for the deficit, but also a norm for unemployment. Because we're looking for ways in which we have a credible fiscal policy, but at the same time a flexible. And that's the same approach you are taking in this dialogue. And I want to come back to an earlier exchange you had with Udo Bullman, where you say you see ways to combine flexibility and credibility. You say structural reforms, maybe public investment, can be given more time for applying for targeting the fiscal deficit. And you seem, I would like to invite you to be more specific on this. Do you want to have a formal procedure? Do you want to take the initiative to enshrine flexibility in the pact and to combine flexibility and credibility at the same time?
Thank you. Our last question, colleague Muresan.
Thank you, Chair, and Mr. President, welcome to this committee also from our side, the new members. It's the first time that we have the chance to exchange views with you, and we're grateful for that. You stated that the answer to the current economic situation cannot come from the ECB. It needs to be a broader economic policy mix. I certainly agree with you on that. I think you are also right when you say that the ECB and the ECB alone decides if, when and where it will do more. That's why my questions to you are linked to the consequences upon the real economy of eventual ECB interventions. And my question is, do you think the ECB doing more, eventually in the direction of quantitative easing, will lead to more lending by banks to the real economy and specifically to SMEs, more investment by the private sector and more spending by the people? Do you see structural reforms as a precondition for the ECB's intervention to work? And do you see the ECB's intervention as something which reduces the incentives for structural reforms? And my last question is, were the ECB to decide to intervene, do you see a risk of an asset price bubble? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. First of all, Mr. Hayes, very good to see you again, now in a completely different role, and I wish you the best of luck in that important position. Your question was quite specific about the issue of the IMF loans, specifically Ireland, I think it's been made public, is considering an early repayment of those loans, which would give a quite a large benefit in terms of interest payments. The Irish minister has approached me and other institutions involved, and that he is considering this. And I think we will discuss it in our September meeting. So in quite a short, this is actually next week, we will be able to go into that on the basis of a request of Ireland, which formally they still have to put forward. That's why I'm a little careful in how I put it. Formally, they will have to request for such a possibility, and both in the Eurogroup and in the ECOFIN it will have to be discussed and approved, because they will only and specifically start early repayments on the IMF part of the loans and not on the EFSM and the EFSF part of the loan. So you know all this. The thing you're possibly most interested in, we will talk about it in our Eurogroup meeting next week in Italy.